afternoon, everyone, and thank you for tuning into my pediatric safety video. Today, we're going to be talking about car seat safety and what we as nurses can do to promote adequate knowledge of car seats and their installment. So you may be thinking, oh, car seat installment, that seems like a pretty easy task that doesn't need much instruction. But according to the CDC, 35% of children 12 years old and younger who died in a car crash in the year 2017 were not buckled in appropriately. And even though motor vehicle injuries are a leading cause of death among children in the United States, many of these deaths could have been prevented. Which got me thinking, what can we as nurses do to help lower these statistics? Well, nurses are not only responsible for the safety of our patients under our care, but also making sure that safety measures are kept in place well after they leave the hospital. And so in what aspect, again, outside of our care, can we help improve in order to help prevent car accident-related deaths in children? I think we can start with proper discharge counseling to mothers concerning the safe transportation of their newborns. This shouldn't be held off until the mother comes in to give birth. So a more appropriate time to give car seat related information to these expecting mothers is before their labor and delivery. This will ensure adequate time for them to purchase an appropriate infant car seat. So during the last few weeks of mom's pregnancy, maybe during her last well visit, I'd probably recommend giving this information to her. There's a few things you need to touch on concerning car seat safety. First, the appropriate type of car seat needed for the infant, which will typically be an infant carrier car seat. We need to remind them to keep in mind not only the cost, but the convenience of the car seat as well. So don't purchase a car seat that seems difficult to use, because this is probably going to increase the likelihood of improper use. You need to consider all options, but keep in mind which will suit your car best. For example, don't buy a car seat that may be too large if you drive a compact car. And then when in doubt, just refer to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration website for further details on choosing the right car seat for their child. We also need to highlight instruction on how to properly install the car seat, which this video will cover a little later. And lastly, the importance of having this done properly before the birth. As this is a hectic time, mothers are coming in to give birth, they're under the stress of the labor. Having it done before they get there is just one less thing that they have to worry about. So, caregivers, what are we looking for when we're purchasing car seats? Walking into a Target or a Walmart can be super overwhelming with the amount of options that are presented. First of all, we should talk about the many forms of car seats. There are infant carrier seats, the convertible seats, and also booster seats. So most parents tend to choose infant carrier seats for the convenience of being able to switch the seat from the car to the stroller. And that's what we're going to be focusing on, is the infant carrier seats. So for the majority of this video, it's kind of typically what newborns are taken home in after their stay at the hospital or after their birth. So there's a few key components of infant carrier car seats that are extremely important. So first, we always ensure that their carrier seat has a certification label stating that it complies with federal motor vehicle safety standards. So it'll be found on the seat or sometimes even with the instruction manual that comes in the box. Next, infants should always be rear facing. Cannot stress this enough. This is going to be the best way to support your child's head, neck, and spine. It's also going to prevent the child's head from being thrown away from the body in the event of a car crash. So once children reach the maximum height and weight recommended by the car seat manufacturer, they can then become forward facing, but always start rear facing. And I think the weight is about 30 pounds and height is 36 inches to be able to qualify for front facing. Lastly, you need a 5-point harness, which has straps that go over both shoulders, both hips, and then buckle at the groin. Moving forward, we're going to be covering the installation of the car seat. While this may seem pretty straightforward, there are a few key instructions that may not seem very obvious to some new parents. So with installation, first thing is first, it is crucial to read and follow all instructions carefully, not only on the car seat installation, but also with being familiar with your car's seatbelt and how to properly lock it. Keep in mind that every car is different, so we need to remember to pay close attention when switching the car seat to another vehicle, especially if we have a car seat in mom's car along with one in dad's going back and forth. Just be familiar with those seat belts. So we're going to begin by placing the car seat base in the back seat of your automobile, always in the back seat. Infants and children should never be in the front seat, no matter if rear or forward facing. So second off, we're going to be threading that seat belt through the rear facing belt path, ensuring that there's no twists in the seat belt, nice and flat belt. So buckle the seat belt and lock it in place by pressing down firmly on that car seat base and tightening the straps. The base shouldn't move from side to side or front to back for about more than an inch. We need to confirm that that installation is done at the correct recline angle as well, because this is really going to help ensure your infant's open airway. And there's typically little built-in angle indicators to help establish that. Just remember to periodically check the angle indicators and adjust it as necessary. So we're going to finish that installment by attaching the infant carrier to the base. It's always safe to give it a good wiggle to ensure that everything is locked and is good to go for when that car starts moving. So installation is only half of the task. We need to make sure that the child is also strapped in safely and ready to ride. So with fitting the child in the car seat, obviously we're going to start by placing the infant in the carrier, making sure that their back is flat and against that car seat. So next we'll be placing the harness straps over the infant's shoulders. These should lie flat with no twists before that chest clip and harness can be buckled. After buckling, make sure to tighten the straps until it feels snug. A general rule for how tight the harness should fit is when you can't pinch any extra material at that shoulder. You also need to ensure that the baby isn't wearing extremely bulky clothing or that they aren't being buckled in with blankets, because this can prevent that snug harness fit that we're looking for. You can always place a blanket on top of the harness after he or she has been properly buckled in. Now, it's kind of common to find that there may be a gap between the buckle and the child's groin. So sometimes placing a rolled washcloth or a diaper in that space can provide kind of a more secure fit. Just make sure to not put any padding, thick padding, especially under or behind the baby, as this can create slackness in the harness. Make sure to then place the chest clip at the armpit level and to hold the harness strap on the child's chest and shoulders. So after the child has outgrown that infant carrier seat, we can transition to the convertible car seats. Those convertible car seats have a higher height and weight limit, and they should remain in the rear-facing position, again, until that child has reached the height and weight limit. It's very important. Old statistics said that it was based on age, but that is no longer in practice. And then eventually, after they are forward-facing, they can then convert and move on to the booster seats, which are literally just a little seat, and they can actually use the seat belt that comes in the car. So that's all I have for car seat safety. I'd like to wrap up this video with a little food for thought. As patient advocates, we shouldn't stop at simply providing instruction for car seat safety. Nurses need to be able to recognize when families may not be able to afford seats, and help them get in contact with a social worker to get their hands on one. We should also encourage caregivers to donate old car seats, ones that their children have outgrown. There's plenty of people out there who can't afford them and might even be a little embarrassed to ask for help. So that's where we can really step in and get them the contact information that they need. But also, before donating or accepting a donated car seat, we need to make sure to consider 3 things. So check the expiration of the car seat. So sometimes the components of the seat can wear down over time, which presents a safety issue. We need to make sure that the car seat was never involved in a serious crash or that it's missing any parts. And lastly, just double check that that car seat isn't under any recall. Typically, recalls tend to happen about a month to 3 months after the manufacture date, but just double check before you are donating that or receiving one. And that's all that I have for car safety instruction today. Thank you all so much for listening to this informative video. I hope you all learned something new today.